Hello viewers, welcome to Minis and Muscles, the place, the only place you need to be on a Friday night where the brawn meets, oh god, not that brush because I've just thrown it across the desk, this brush. How are we? Happy Friday people. So you've all probably seen me already, or possibly already, with some shorts and with some sort of mini lives throughout the day, because it is Friday, of course, and it's Comic-Con. So although I'm here now talking to you, I'm also there now talking to you. Crazy how the mind tricks work on this Jedi warrior. I'm not a Jedi, but hey. I thought I'd just throw it in anyway. How are we? Are we all well? What's been going on? How is your week? I hope that you have been doing well. Fingers crossed you have. As usual, here on Minis and Muscles, although this is a live-ish, as in we're not quite live, but it's here on the regular timing slot for you guys on the Friday. It is a slightly shorter version, and all it is we're going to go continue with our beautiful conversion rhino tank that we're doing right now, and we're going to get her a little bit further down the road in terms of the painting. I may not get as distracted and continue to waffle as I usually do, because I won't be interacting with the chat because it's not live, but hopefully I should be on the train right now, and if I'm on the train right now, then fingers crossed I should be able to join the chat and say hello to you all and chat to you in my future self. So that's quite cool, isn't it? But anyway, if I saw you at Comic-Con today, hello. Thank you for stopping by and seeing Minis and Muscles at the Game Therapy UK stand. It was very cool to see you. Aside from that, oh crikey, to sort my notes out because they're all over the place. I suppose we best get on with the show, really. As I said, I hope you had a good Friday. Thank you for joining, as usual. Today's topic, our general chit-chat topic, is just going to be about Warhammer and starting it as a newbie, because I was only very recent, or I had only very recently started myself. So I know exactly what that journey's like. I had painted Warhammer for some time, but never played it till only a few months ago. So I know exactly the kind of thoughts, or I hope I know the kind of thoughts that might be running through your mind if you're thinking about playing for the very first time. So we'll have a general chit chat on that. Of course, we will have our muscle moment. On our muscle moment, we're going to talk about my experience of using different supplements. So we'll go for a variety of those. And then after that, I think that's about it for our... Yeah, that's about it. Yes, if I remember correctly, what I've planned to talk to you about, that is all we've got. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we, guys? So hopefully, as I said, you've had a nice week. If you are watching this and doing your painting, make sure you've got your wet palette, and the wet palette is wet. Make sure you've got some fresh water. That is fresh, it's just my dirty jar that I use. Make sure you've got your paints ready. I've got all my paints sort of sat by the side here. They're all ready. Give them a quick shake up. If you've got, like, if you need something like a paint scraper just to get all the paint out the pot. If you're using these rubbishy Citadel ones and not a Vallejo sort of squirty bottle or dropper bottle. And any other things that you think you might need. So, as I said, we're going to crack on with our glorious Rhino conversion. So let's just change camera. There we go. Oh, that's the wire. So let's... how do we do this? Right, I'm going to try and unplug... oh no, now it's saying change the battery. I can't do that. I have to keep it in. That's not good. So the wire's going to have to stay there, guys, but never mind. The only thing I don't like about this camera is it doesn't give you like a battery percentage. It's rubbish. It's not rubbish, but it's frustrating is what the best word is. So last week we were painting this this Rhino to bring it into standards to be our new emulator for our Sisters of Battle army. So we've got our stained glass window, we've got our flamers on the front now, we've got the hunter killer missile here, we've got our sister just with a heavy bolter, and then we've got a claw at the front with a bolter underneath. or a heavy bolter actually underneath, and we've got this sort of chainsaw type thing as well. We have added a lot of other bits and bobs, so we just need to start cracking on and painting. There's a lot of silver in this model to do, so let's crack on, because otherwise I will sit here and talk as usual, and you guys will be like, geez, Steve, why are you talking so much? I'm not doing anything. We want to see this rhino finished. And I'll be like, yes, I want to see that too, because I'd love to stick this in my army. So I'm just adding some water to, a little bit of extra water actually to my wet palette. Not because it wasn't wet, but sometimes when you have a big dollop of paint, they can just harden slightly, even though it's in your wet palette and it's sealed in a little pot that it is. So I'm just adding a little bit of water to that, just so it's not too thick. Right, there we go. Yeah, that looks okay. Let's try it, shall we? So let's start on these flamers, I think, today. I think we're actually going to paint the entirety of this here silver. Don't worry about the little indent there, we'll get that later with some Nuln oil, and we'll just drop it in there just to give it that shadow and depth. Oh, I can actually move these, can't I? Make that a bit easier. Yeah, so our topic of today that I was going to talk about was Warhammer and starting Warhammer. So, as you know, if you've been watching Minis-N-Muscles from episode 1, I have played, I have sort of watched Warhammer from the distance for many years. Watched it from a distance, never played the game. I have painted the models just because I really liked them, but just watched from a distance in terms of playing. Apart from playing Mordheim, which is a sort of very small skirmish game, and Blood Bowl, which is like basically American football, but still a very cool game. And they're sort of very small sort of sub games. Oh, just losing my flamer there to paint. And it wasn't until this year that I actually got into playing. Now, the reason why I never played, not only because of the sort of, as we mentioned on last week's show, that sort of stigma that was attached to geek games, but actually it was also the rules. There's a lot of rules, right, in Warhammer that are quite confusing. I'm not the brightest or the crunchiest biscuit in the tin. I'm not stupid by any means, but some of these rules are just, if I don't quite get it, it takes me so long to understand things. And I don't like reading books, so that doesn't help. So I thought, oh well, I will sort of skip over it and I won't bother playing it. I'll just paint the models because I enjoy it. I can do it in my own time, and that's quite nice. So I did that, and then my buddies who play in my D&D group were like, oh, we play Warhammer as well. Why don't you play? You'll really enjoy it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. So then it got me sort of thinking, and I was like, right, okay, I'll buy an army. I'll play. So I committed to my Sisters of Battle. Not looked back since then, really, because it's just been really fun to sort of indulge in the hobby itself and indulge in everything that sort of comes along with Warhammer. Just trying to get the paintbrush right in that corner there. It's quite difficult when you've got all these extra things on. That's why sometimes I do sort of paint sub-assembly, so they're not fully made models or whatever, and I do paint it that way. But this was already built, so I didn't really have any choice. But these smaller things, sometimes I do like to paint as individual bits rather than sticking it straight on the model and painting from the model itself. I just find it's easier it's just smaller, it's easier. You can get all the fiddly bits done, and then you can, worry about all the rest later, which is sometimes quite a nice approach. But yeah, Warhammer. So sort of often the common fears that come into a lot of people. That's my story, by the way, that I spoke about a minute ago. But now sort of thinking about you guys, and if you're thinking about Warhammer and playing Warhammer, I think quite a lot of the common fears are the complexity of the rules. Now, I mentioned you have to read a book, and I don't like reading books, but there are a shed ton of rules. My Sisters of Battle Army is a classic example. I find there's a lot of rules for them. Apparently, they're not even the most complicated army, which surprises me, because there is a lot of nuances with Sisters and a lot of like extra things to learn. But hey, apparently they're not the most complicated. Apparently, Thousand Sons are quite a complicated army to play. If anyone plays Thousand Sons out there and wants to drop a comment in and say, yeah, Thousand Sons are a pain in the ass, then yeah, drop a comment in. But yes, it's complexity. So it often feels like there's a million different rules. So, you know, but actually, the basics aren't that hard to grasp. So, you know, whether it's your different phases, such as your command phase, your movement phase, you know, your shooting phase, whatever that is, your basic phases, and then actually, because of the app, the Warhammer app that you get, it's pretty simple just to follow along. So a friend of mine gave me a printout of the sort of the order of play. In fact, have I got that there? No, it's over there, which is the other side of my man cave, so I won't grab it. But yeah, he gave me like a basic order of play. So you've got that basic order of play, and you've got the Warhammer app. Now, with the Warhammer app, you go onto the app itself and you load up your army that you've got. Bear in mind for this, as everything, nothing comes for free, and certainly not with Games Workshop, nothing comes for free. That is a fact. So you might have to buy a codex, and in the back of the codex, which is the book version, is a code. And you can apply that code into the Warhammer app, and you can get access to your army in a digital format as well, which is very handy. You don't have to do this, by the way, guys. It's just the way that I found it quite easy to consume, because with the book you're sort of flicking between things, which is absolutely fine if you know what you're doing and where you're going. If you don't, it can seem quite daunting. So, and we're sort of trying to narrow down this daunting feeling of rules here. So all you need to do is get yourself the digital version on the app. Like I say, you get that, and then upload all your individual models that you've got. Once you've uploaded all the individual models, you can then look at those instead of searching through or thumbing through the entire book. It's all sort of laid out for you, which is quite nice. From there, each of your individual models has individual rules. So you've got those basic rules, those set phases that happen in the battle. But then your individual models have rules. Now, the way I found it easiest to remember, or try to remember at least, and I still forget stuff, and I think even seasoned players forget stuff, but make a cheat sheet. So you set out the phases, so your command phase, your shooting phase, movement phase, all of that sort of jazz. You set out those phases, and you look at each, and it will take a little bit of time because you've got to read through your characters, right, or your units. Take a bit of time and look at each of the abilities of your units, and each one will tell you what it can and can't do, well, I don't say what it can't do, it just says what it can do, and then it will say when you can do that. So it might say, right, this tank can, an original Rhino tank that is, can, with sisters in a certain sisters unit, can separate a squad of 10 into a squad of 5, and you have to declare this at the start of battle. So the first thing on your cheat sheet would be a section, subsection, start of battle. And then any units that have things that you have to do at the start of battle, write that down. Just say, Rhino tank, split your squad into 2 and declare it. You know, easy, right? Then you go into your other phases and you do exactly the same. So you're just splitting it down, trying to make the process a little bit less complicated for yourself. And I've found that really helps, like really, really helps. And then after that, once you've got that all written down, it's just a matter of rolling dice and having a laugh with your mates. Which, again, is probably the main reason, really, why I wanted to play Warhammer. Because I like the people that I play with, and, you know, it's a good laugh. Even when I get my butt whooped, it's still a good laugh. Even when I roll really badly and I'm, like, swearing like a trooper, which my mates find most hilarious. You know, and I'm sat there swearing away, like, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, sorry, swear. But, you know, it's just a laugh. It's a genuine laugh. And that's why I play most of these games, to be fair. Not because I'm the most... the biggest lover of a computer game or Warhammer or whatever it is. It's actually just the love for playing with people and just having friendships and doing that. That's my driver to play a game anyway. But yeah, so those are rules, right? Rules are complicated, but they're not that complicated that you can't learn them. Genuinely, if I can learn them, I do believe anyone can learn them. And they're not as hard as what you might think. So just bear with it. Make your little cheat sheet. So that would be my advice there. So that's your rules. What else is there? Oh yeah, like the community, because it's like quite a large scale thing, and the community, that can be quite daunting in itself. So like, what I'd suggest is not necessarily, unless you feel very brave, and that's very cool if you do, you can jump straight into playing Warhammer pretty much anywhere. There's lots of local game stores that will happily have you join them. So if that's the case and you want to go down to your local game store and join them, please do. As I said, geeks are really friendly, right? I guarantee that everyone that watches this channel, we could sit there and chat, and we could chat for days, and it would be absolutely fine. The geek community is a very cool community. I was actually on the train yesterday, and these guys jumped on the train and they were reading a Necron book, or one of the lads was reading a Necron book, and my buddy that I was with turned around and said, oh, we've just gone and done this, XYZ. And we just started talking about Warhammer in general, and they were so cool, you know, and just a right old chat amongst us. It was very nice. And that, I think, is one of the best things about the Warhammer community, or the geek community, is that everyone is very, very friendly. But it can seem quite intimidating, these sort of large-scale competitions in this shop with lots of other people, and, you know, but start at home. Start at home with a buddy, you know, and start on small scale. So start, rather than, you know, bajillion points, start on 1,000 points. That's where I started, 1,000 points in an army, because each unit you play with and character is worth a certain amount of points. Those points then comprise the total value of your army, and that denotes the size of the battle, right? So a 1,000 point army is pretty small. It's pretty easy to get 1,000 points worth of an army without spending your entire fortune or savings. Don't get me wrong, it's not cheap. The models themselves from Games Workshop are not cheap. But, you know, 1,000 points is fairly easy to buy without too much worry, you know. It's not, like I say, it's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive. And it's not the most difficult then to paint. So some people are quite persistent on the fact that you have to paint your army before you play them. Some people, like the guys I play with, are quite relaxed, and they're like, nah, it's okay if you just play with them black. I quite like to paint them myself, just out of pride. I don't like to play with models that are not painted. That's purely a me thing. I would quite happily let others play with models that are unpainted. That doesn't bother me. I just like my own army to be painted. So that's just a meism. But yeah, so start on 1,000 points. Trust the community is my point there, and relax and just go into it, and you'll find that you'll have an absolute laugh. Oh, bloody wind! Yeah, so you really will find you'll enjoy it. So please do embrace the geeky culture that we live in. Don't worry that I'm going over the edge here. I'm completely aware, but I'm using a rather big brush, which I probably shouldn't. And I'm just going around here, around the edge of this skull. Just filling this in with red, because that's the sort of colour scheme we went with on the side, which I thought looked very cool. One of our regular viewers the other week said, "Oh, you should fill it with resin." Well, I'm waiting for my resin to arrive. It's not arrived yet. When it does, I shall fill it, because that will look quite cool with filled resin. Yeah, so yeah, sometimes with that overwhelming feeling, you know, you've got these sort of, let's call them uber geeks. There's nothing wrong with being an uber geek, but you have these uber geeks that are super knowledgeable, have been playing Warhammer for the past 10 years and various different editions of Warhammer, and they've been there since day dot and blah 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 blah, and they know all about the lore and the books, and you've only just started. So, you know, however, veteran players can also be your best friend, because veteran players are often exceptionally helpful. So do reach out to them and do speak to them, because you might find that, you know, although they look scary or whatever, they're not that bad. And they'll be there to help you out. And they'll certainly help you and point you in the right direction. Or they should do, at least. A good human being would, right? Yeah, there's always a fear of getting it wrong. But again, if you... Like, you're not going to surround yourself with douchebags, are you? You're not going to hang out with people that are not very nice. So, actually, the fear of getting it wrong, there shouldn't be too much of that, because if you hang around with decent people, they're not going to lambast you for not getting a rule right. Like, I played a game with my buddies, and we played it, finished it off, and then I went back to sort of buff up on some of my rules I'd forgotten. I reread one rule. And I text the group and I was like, guys, I played this completely wrong. I can only do this ability on... It was like a resurrection type ability. And I said, I can only do this on characters, not models from the unit. So, yeah, so I kind of felt a bit guilty there for doing that. But they were like, oh, no, don't worry about it, man. It's like, you're just learning. So they're completely cool with it. And that's not an excuse, by the way, to go out and be a douche and cheat. But that's just the fact to reassure you that all these rules, as complex as they are, you don't have to panic about getting everything right, guys. I genuinely believe it's the experience of playing. And most Warhammer players will just enjoy playing the game. You know, they won't be too fussed about... being a rules lawyer. Obviously it's slightly different for competitions. You have to abide by the rules in every single manner, and you should, you know, but even if someone gets it wrong at a competition, you know, as long as you admit to your mistake, apologise, and then don't make that mistake again, people aren't going to be worried about that. They're going to be like, oh, okay, cool, that guy's sweet, he's all right, he apologised for his mistake, and let's move on, let's go. Yeah, because they're going to be wanting to play the game. That's why you're there, for God's sake. But yeah, so that's just sort of fear of getting it wrong. But don't worry, it's not a big thing. It's okay. So there is a massive fun side to Warhammer. And that fun side is that creative aspect, what we're doing right now. So this getting your models, getting your army, choosing your army first actually, choosing the army that looks best to you. I wouldn't go for what, people suggest in terms of, oh, well, this one's the most effective or that one, or try not to look for that. I'd just go with rule of cool, because you're more likely to continue to build them and paint them and, use the models if you've gone by rule of cool than you are if you've gone by, effectiveness, but actually you don't like the look of the army at all, and you're like, oh, I don't even like these models, and you've got to paint them and put them together, right? So go with rule of cool, or try going with rule of cool. I think you'll have a far easier ride with it, because Warhammer is a dedication as well, like this right now, right? Okay, so I'm doing this one on my channel, and I sort of saved this model for my channel, but like literally sat here, well, I've got a sprue here where I've cut pieces off for a model I'm building. I've got like models over here, I've got models all here that need painting, that where I've been putting them together and painting bits as I'm going. It's a proper dedication, not a pressurized dedication, by the way, but you're dedicating yourself to a hobby and committing yourself to it, and there's a lot to do to really maximize from it, and that's sort of this creative world that you get into. So not only do you build the model and then paint the model, some people name every single model. Some people write backstories for their armies, where they've been, because they've read about the lore in the books about the faction that they're playing. So they're like, right, okay, I don't know, let's say Sisters of Battle, and they were in X war, and my army was part of that war, and I've got this character here which did this, and some people even go into that, and I might well do that at some point actually, because I think that's quite a cool thing to do. Might not be your cup of tea, and you don't have to, so it's not a problem, but the option is there should you wish. And that's what, again, another lovely thing about Warhammer itself. So having those, having the building, the painting, the playing, the creative sort of story that you can write, and the narrative that you write for your army, that's all super cool. It really is a lot of fun. Not like painting lots of silver on a model. Even I love my Sister Battle, but sometimes you paint the same colour and you're like, oh man. But I also want it to be in keeping. I could just paint it random colours, and I did see a psychedelic Sisters of Battle tank the other day, and I was like, wow, that actually looks quite cool. But yeah, so you can do that. Oh, what else was I going to say? I was going to say something else. Yeah, let's just go back on track, because I've forgotten what I was going to say. But we were talking about that sort of creative side of it. It's even creative in the sense of the tactics that you choose, because each army has its own variant of tactics that you can use, and stratagems they're called. So little things that you can play on your army to make them more effective during the battle. Even that itself is super cool, because how you play is completely different. We could have the same models, right? We would still play it completely differently. And that is what is cool about it. Oh, I think that's cool about it anyway. And I think that sort of links to the creative element of Warhammer and tabletop gaming. It's very cool. And you can apply this, by the way, to any tabletop gaming, really. It doesn't have to be Warhammer. It's just that this happens to be something that I'm playing at the moment. It just happens to be something that falls into our geeky world here that we talk about on Minis and Muscles. But it can be any tabletop game. Okay. I'm just looking at that to see how much silver I'm putting on there, and what bits I can imagine in my head to be coloured or not. Yeah, so ignore me whilst I go into my moment of thought. Yeah, so you've got that strategic aspect, from the stratagem you use to where you move your model to all of those sort of little bits and bobs. they're really cool and really they're really personal, and that's what I like about the game itself, is that it is personal and you can play it the way you want to play it, within the rules of course, but you can play the game how you want to play it. So that I think is a massive plus on the creativity side for Warhammer. So if you've got a sort of mindset that likes rules but you like to do it your way, oh man, Warhammer, easy. And again, if you're the opposite to that and you like to follow guidance and sort of pre-written things, there are millions and millions of sort of whether it's YouTube channels or written threads that are out there that give pre-written guidance on what to take in your army and how to play them. So you can choose that way as well, that path. That's not a path that I like, but I just like to go a bit cray-cray. I think that's quite cool. Yeah, so what was next on my little topic of chat? I hope you're all doing well, and fingers crossed you're all enjoying the show so far. I know these ones aren't quite as interactive and we can't have a good old natter like we normally do. But hopefully you did manage to catch me on my lives whilst at Comic-Con. And it's all cool because it's Friday and it's the end of the week. And we made it yet again through the humdrudge of... Is that the right word? Humdrudge? The crapness. Let's use that. The crapness of the week in the working world. And we've made it through. And we're now at the weekend. So you can relax. There's a radio show that I listen to. Relax, sit back. I've got you. Yeah, that's what they say on that radio show. I think it's... I'll take it from here. Yeah, something like that. Very good radio show. Yes. That's what. Next section, see. I get very distracted sometimes, don't I? So what I was talking about, community. Now, the Warhammer community, I've found so far to be very inviting, very open, and just a kind place to be. So if you're looking for that kind of community where you can just relax and chill and talk to fellow geeks about XYZ in your chosen hobby, Warhammer is really open to that. I mentioned I sat on the train and we saw these guys yesterday on the train, and they had the Necron Codex, and this lad was watching. I think he was with his brother, and they were just sat there and minding their own business, and my mate sort of piped up and was like, "Oh, Necrons, yeah, well, we play Warhammer. We've just been to Wembley Park, and we've just played the VR Space Marine game, by the way, which is bloody epic. I want to talk more about that on my next live, because that was so good. But yeah, we said, oh, we've just been to play this, blah, 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 blah. And it sparked off a whole conversation, and we sat there for like 20 odd minutes just chatting about Warhammer together. It was bloody brilliant. And that's the kind of like openness and kindness that I really like. And every Warhammer store I've been in, the people are always very, very friendly. Of course, yes, they want to sell you stuff, so they're going to be friendlier than normal, and that is their job, and that's what they're paid to do. I get it, but crikey, come on, let's be honest. You can go into so many stores nowadays, and the people are absolute buttholes. And you go in there, and they're rude, and they're, inconsiderate, or they ignore you. Like car dealers, for example. 9 times out of 10, they're absolutely awful. You go into those places and they, you walk in. I don't particularly dress super fashionable or anything. Maybe that's the problem. But it shouldn't be. So go into these places and they freaking ignore you. And it's like, all you want to do is like look at their car or buy a car potentially, and they ignore you. Or you go into a clothes shop and they, that people look at you, look down on you because of what you're wearing. I'm like, come on, man, why are you doing this? Whereas I've actually found Warhammer is completely opposite to that. If you're a complete newbie, they're very helpful, they're very engaging, and they're enthusiastic and they're nice, right? Whereas I don't find that with all other stores. So I'd say the Warhammer store's probably got one of the best customer service sort of things going. So, it's a great community to be in, whether you're in shop mode or whether you're in friend mode and finding new people, whether you're on the train speaking to randoms, or whether you're, going into a shop and trying to buy something from a sort of commercial entity. So it's super welcoming to new players. So again, shouldn't be put off thinking that it's an exclusive thing for people that know the lore and have read a million bajillion books. Not at all. Completely opposite to that is my experience to date. Completely opposite. So yeah, my advice would be to get stuck in. It really, really would. Events and tournaments, I've not... I wanted to bring this in because I've only watched stuff. I've not joined an event tournament because I'm still very much in my infancy. I'll probably do a tournament at some point. But I've watched a few online, and I think they're quite cool. So yeah, but it just means that it's that. The reason why I put it in is because I wanted to say it's a part of the expansive community that you can go and join, and you can interact with, and you can play these games, etc., etc. And you can get in there with these people and just experience more of it. So it just gives you more of a wider hobby. So you're not just playing at home or playing the computer game. You're actually going out and you're meeting completely new people and joining in an immersive experience, which is actually really, really fun. So whether I've done that in other worlds, I've done that in other worlds, just not for Warhammer. So I'm quite excited to go and do that at some point, which would be good. Talked about game shops, online resources. We've mentioned the Warhammer app is very good. It's not perfect. There are massive things that I would like to do. In fact, I was even thinking and talking to a friend of mine about creating an app, a better app than what the Warhammer one is, because it's not the best. It's not terrible, but it just could be better. So there's an AI variant that I'm gonna look at trying to build at some point, which would be very interesting. But we'll see. We'll see if that ever comes to fruition. I don't know. But it might do. So overall, the community is very, very cool. So you shouldn't be worried or feel negative about the Warhammer community or scared. It's very open, very engaging. In terms of other online tools, I forgot to mention there is Warpedia, as in WAAGHpedia. War being a reference to orcs, because they shout war when they go into war and battle. That is like a Wikipedia for Warhammer, which is a free resource. There is Battlescribe. I think it's called Battlescribe. Oh, crikey, now you've got me thinking. I think it's called Battlescribe, which again is a free app that you can use the basic rules for. So if you can't get your hands on a codex or whatever, there are basic rules on Battlescribe. So there are things and resources out there, and there's plenty of forums for you to chat to different people and ask, how do I do this? What does this do? Blah, 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 blah. So there's lots of opportunity. So don't be afraid. It is open and welcoming. Right, just wash that off. So we're sticking our muscle moment now. Just because I've been really bad recently, and I keep forgetting to do our muscle moment. And it's like, oh my god, I've forgotten to do it. I've forgotten to do it. And I do it in the last 10 minutes of the show, which it should be in the middle. So I should stick to my timings and my written agenda far better. But what I wanted to talk about this week was supplements in whole and my experience with them, because we wouldn't be the channel where the brawn meets the brush without talking about a muscle moment. So I wanted to cover a couple of supplements and just give you my kind of experience on how I've found each one of those. There's only like 5, I think I did. Yeah, no. Yeah, 5 and then like a summary. So first one is protein. I've tried a million different protein shakes, like so many, from like hardcore bodybuilder ones all the way through to like healthy promotional type ones that are meant to be good for your body and all the rest of it. So there's a couple of different variants. There's two. I'd say there's 2 probably main variants. You get your whey protein and you get your plant-based protein. Have I noticed any difference between the 2 when I've used the 2 variants? No, not really. Taste is probably the only thing that I've noticed a difference on. We'll come on to that in a sec. But there's those 2 differences. One is obviously animal-based, one is not. There is some people that say that whey protein is the only way to go. See what I did there? But I don't think so. The plant ones that I've tried are equally, if they seem to have just as good an effect on me. Now, what it does do, protein shakes, is I have them after my workout. So as soon as I finish my workout, I will have a protein shake just to help with muscle repair and sleep and recovery and things like that. And I do find that protein has been, when I don't have it, should I say, or I forget to have it, you do feel that maybe your sleep's not quite as good, or you feel a little bit more achy, or you know, I don't feel as good if I don't have it, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's for recovery and growth. I think a protein shake is absolutely vital, purely as well on my side, because I don't probably eat enough protein sometimes. So if, like me, you struggle to get protein into your diet, or you forget to eat, or sometimes you just rush in, absolutely 100% stick in a protein shake. I think it's probably the easiest way to consume protein in one go without having to go to the shops and buy special meats or whatever. So yeah, I would say protein is a thumbs up. It's good. From my experience, what I've had, I tried some really hardcore bodybuilding one once, and it's just a chocolate one, and it tasted like absolute crap. It was very high in calories, because at the time I wanted to put on a bit of size. So it's very high in calories. That was kind of the basis of it. So you can get a couple of variants. Some are very light in calorie, like a lean protein shake, which will be maybe 150 calories per serving, with maybe 15 grams of protein. And then you can get the other end of the spectrum, where you've got like 50 grams of protein, or maybe more in some cases, with these like crazy bodybuilding ones, and they'd be like 1,000 calories. 1,000 calories in a shake. It's nuts. The only difference I've found, really, and my advice to you guys would be, try it. You can get little sachets of them. So rather than buying the big tubs, go to a protein supplement shop and buy the little sachets, or testers, or go online. I'm sure you can find some online, and try them and just see what you like, because protein shakes can be a bit of an odd taste. So make sure you get one that you like. That's my recommendation on protein shakes, and that's really what I go by. I would 100% include it in your workout regime as part of that, but just go with one you like the taste of. Just experiment, have a few, and then try. Top brands, I would say, Warning, top brands are not always the best tasting. They don't always mix well, and they're not particularly nice. And talking of mixing, how I do mine, I have just a shaker bottle with I don't have the little grids. Some have like these little sort of mesh circular grids that go in, and they're like a square hatched mesh grid. I don't like them because they seem to clog very easy. I get the little metal shaker balls that you put in. And I find they mix your protein far better. Alright, so test loads. Don't trust necessarily the brand, the most famous brands. And, you know, make sure you have it, because this is a key one for post-workout. BCAAs. So this was like this is branched chain amino acids. This was like a big push, mate. I don't know, actually. Was there a big push a couple of years ago? But it's been around for some time, right? And it's essentially for muscle recovery. Now, I got on the hype of it. I've tried it. Do you know what? I didn't find any excuse me. I didn't find any difference. Like, I didn't see any difference in gains, or I didn't feel any different. And they're the two ways you're going to be able to measure these supplements: is gains and look and feel. Sorry, look and feel of how your body is. I didn't get either of that. Not a bit. I couldn't find any benefit for BCS. There might be loads of scientific research. The stuff that I've read on it is pretty mixed. So quite often it's not. Some people say, "Oh yeah, it's really, really good," and other people say, "No, it's absolutely bullcrap, and you know, don't bother with it." I'm just telling you my personal experience. They're tasty. So there's a light powder, various different flavors. Again, there's plenty to choose from. Just chuck it in some water, shake it up, and you can drink it. But I've just not found that it's particularly very good or any different. I've never found any difference with it. So yeah, take what you will from that. But yeah, variety of different flavors. Again, go and try them. There's plenty of trial sachets that you can use. I would advise you do that. What else was I going to say about BCAAs? I was going to say something else. Can't remember, but I didn't. I used it for about 9 months, 12 months. Yeah, maybe it was 12 months actually, maybe a bit longer. But it's not that great. I didn't see any sort of benefits. Next one is creatine. So creatine is for strength and muscle gains, a bit of recovery, and this is probably the best supplement that I've had, along with protein powder. Creatine's really, really good. I've found when I don't have it, there is a significant difference in tonnage, size, and strength gains as you're building up to things. So yeah, I would 100% recommend that. Creatine monohydrate, a light white powder. It tastes like crap. That's the only downside, unless some protein powders have creatine in it. If they do, good. If they don't, it comes in a white powder. Just make a bit of water up, drop the powder in, mix, and then down it. That's it. Don't sip, because the powder doesn't mix properly in the water, and it will just then settle and you'll get a load of dust at the bottom of your drink. So don't do that. Just mix it up, let it whisk in, and then just down it. That's the best way to do it. But it's also probably the supplement with the most testing, the most complete testing, that is, most reliable research supplement out there that you could find, and it is very good. And I can say from my experience that I've found it to be very, very helpful. So yeah, helpful increasing strength, helpful increasing intensity of your workouts, I guess. Yeah, that's probably it. So intensity, sort of endurance, I'd say, and strength as overall. I think it's a great help and a booster. So, and when you're trying to get bigger, or more stronger. That, you know, that's the aim, right? So why would you not take something that is fine and healthy for your body, and you know, you can that actually gives you results. So talking about non-healthy things. So I have tried SARMs. Absolutely happy to say this. I've tried SARMs, which is selective androgen receptor modulators. So, obviously in the sort of muscle fitness kind of world, there's a huge use of steroids, right? Which the steroids list is longer than my arm. But then there's the availability of getting it to it. So most people, 99.9% of people, can't get hold of it or can't afford it, right? Because actually real stuff is very expensive. So there's pharmaceutical companies come up with this thing called SARMs, and this has only been around a couple of years, and a lot of young kids are getting into it because you can just buy it off the internet. So caution, there is no research behind these things at all. There's no research right now. So be very careful if you choose to do this. I'm just telling you that I have, and I'm telling you my experience. I used them for about 4 months, or tried it. No, maybe less than that. Maybe no, in fact, 4 months. 4 months, maybe 2 months. And I used one bottle, and I started on a second bottle, and I couldn't even finish it because it made me feel like absolute shit. So it's a tablet that you take. It was daily with food. It didn't taste of anything, but it just made me feel absolutely horrible. I didn't feel particularly any stronger. I didn't feel any better. I didn't feel like I was more cut or anything at all. I just felt like pure shit. I felt really ill. And I actually then, the bottle sat in my drawer, and a mate of mine was talking about it. I said, oh, I tried them, but they're freaking horrible. So there you go, have them. I gave them to him. And I obviously gave him the warning. I didn't just say, oh, they're great. But these are meant to act like steroids, but in a tablet form that are non-steroids. But I think, you know, at the time I was like, oh, I really need to get bigger. I really need to get bigger. And I think it was just an impatience thing. Ultimately, my fitness journey, you know, started in 2015 when I started doing, or 2016 when I started doing weights. So it's like 9 years of doing weights. I'm still not huge. I'm still not massive. Okay, like I've got an okay size. I've got an okay shape, but I'm not massive. I'm not huge. I'm okay with that. It just takes time. So I weighed myself this morning, actually, 94 kilograms I weigh. When I started, I weighed like 70, 72, something like that. So quite light. I just sort of finished cycling, just left the army, just finished cycling, was very sort of slim. And I was just like, I'm bored of cardiovascular exercise, I'm going to do weights. I want to get big. So, yeah. But there's the problem I have with SARMs, although I did try it, yes, hands up, is there isn't research, and sometimes you've got to look as much and read into it as much as you can, and then take the choice of whether you do or don't. I took the choice too, and I can confirm that I think there's not enough research behind them. It did not make me feel well at all. Shakes and sort of jitters, hot flushes, not good at all. It was really a weird feeling, and sometimes sick as well. So my body did not like them whatsoever. But, you know, you live and you learn. One thing I have tried is testosterone boosters. So I was in the US, and they have these because testosterone is one way to grow big quick, right? Not quick actually, but it's quicker. The more testosterone you have in your body, which helps growth and muscle strength. So you'll find like someone like myself has less testosterone than someone that's 20. When you're younger as a male, you have a lot more of it. Now, I thought, I see it on the counter here. That would be great. I'll try it. So it was literally just on the shelf. I think it was in like CVS or something like that, which is a bit like Boots. So I grabbed some from Boots, Tried it. Did feel a bit better, but it wasn't massive. I don't know what research really is anything that says that it's impactful or not, because all these testosterone boosters are all made up of like different berry juices and XYZ, and you know, it's all this sort of kind of fabled story stuff, and I kind of tried it just hoping that it would be good. It was okay. It didn't have any side effects, which was great. So it didn't make me feel ill or bad or anything like that, because the one I got was all like this natural substances, you know, natural ingredients. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah, so it was okay, but it wasn't anything special. What else? Oh, that's them all really. That was all the ones I wanted to talk about, all 5. So to wrap on those, my ultimate advice would be use tried and tested stuff that is well researched. From the 2 that I picked out as my key go-tos, protein powder and creatine powder, they're the most tested and tried and researched supplements out there. So go with those because they're safe. You know, and just be wary of what else you do look at. I was stupid and I did try those SARM things. Crazy. Don't try them. Really bad. There's a horrible craze right now of young kids using them. Some are having some good muscle gain effects, but also I don't know what health benefits they're gonna not health benefits, health drawbacks they're gonna get. They could be quite serious. But anyway, that is enough of our muscle moment. I've spoken long enough about supplements. Let's get back into the painting, because that's really why we're here, right? I throw in the muscle stuff just to chat at something else. Right, where were we? What were we going to do? I'm trying to remember what we were going to do here, guys. So let's get this one painted. Start this little bit here. Way too much paint on my brush here. Don't be eager and throw too much paint on your brush, guys. Just go gentle. Alright, so we're just painting this little banner here, which I want to do some. I do want to try and do some sort of, you know, like calligraphy type art across it. I do want to try that at some point. I'm not any good at it, by the way, or I've never tried it before though. But I'd like to give it a bash just to see what I could do. You can see here this paint that I'm putting on is really thin. It's probably a bit too thin, so it's probably going to need another coat. But that's alright. So hopefully you're having a good evening anyway on your Friday. Hopefully you've had a good week so far. You've not had too many stresses or worries or woes. The world can be pretty stressful sometimes, right? So we want to try and stay away from too much stress. Okay, that's alright. Let's just do the underside bit here. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. Righty, top side of it. Oh, Christ. So let's just do the top side of this little banner. There we go. So, did any of you manage to get a ticket to Comic-Con? I know a couple of you were talking about in the chat last week about possibly going or trying to get tickets? If you did, I shall see you there. Someone, I think, said that the tickets were sold out. That's crazy. Right, turn it over, do the other side. Bop, 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 bop. Oh yeah, I just thought about, we should really go back to our main topic, shouldn't we? I can't even remember what my main topic was for today. Got so in depth on our muscle moment, didn't we? See, when I actually do it without 10 minutes at the end, throwing it in at 10 minutes towards the end of the show, I actually managed to talk about something half decent. Da, da, da. Right, let's just scroll my notes back up to the top to remind me what was. Oh yeah, there we go. Yes, we're talking about Warhammer, starting Warhammer. God, oh dear. Tell you what, sometimes I swear I'd forget absolutely everything if I didn't write stuff down. Does any of you ever find that if you don't write it down, it's just like lost into the ether of just meh? I find that it's rather nuts, but yeah, hopefully let's just do that. Yeah, so yeah, just getting started in Warhammer and what you guys, you know, should try or not be afraid of. First of all, it's if you haven't tried it and you think it's just going to be full of sweaty, smelly, geeky individuals. Yep, could be, might be, but I can guarantee you they will be very welcoming. They will be very kind. You know, you're not going to walk in there and get a load of trouble from people, or they're going to give you stick for being a new player. I can guarantee you they'll be possibly some of the nicest people I've ever spoken to, and that is, I think, the winner for me when it comes to new communities or new hobbies. Like, how easy is it to get into in terms of the community and find somewhere you can learn and play and try it all out? If it's really difficult to get into, or the people are really, you know, a bit arsehole-ish, you're never going to want to start or continue that hobby, are you? But this one, I can say from my experience, it has been good. Now, this might be contradictory to other people's experience, and I'm sure there's some buttheads out there that play Warhammer too. You know, because let's face it, there's buttheads all over the world, right? So we just have to sort of navigate that path when we get to it and try and avoid these types of people. But it's not always easily doable. So just do the best you can. Oops, pardon me. But try going down to your local game store and see if they can help you. I'm sure they will. Let's paint this skull whilst we're here. Yeah, don't be afraid of all the rules. Learn them as you go. Grab yourself a model. Get yourself some paintbrushes and some paints. Give it a crack. Because I tell you what, I would never look back on painting models, even if it was just painting and not even playing. There's something really cool about painting. Now, quite a lot of you will be here because you already paint and you've had that experience. Some of you might have just like literally stumbled across the channel from seeing a short, and now you're like, oh, That looks cool, you know, and that's great to have you guys here as well, by the way, because I was you not so long ago. Just trying to just make sure I've got the edges on this skull done. I'm using a bit of a big brush really for this. I shouldn't really be using such a big brush, but I am, so you know, sue me. So very shortly we'll be wrapping up today's session. Because it's only a short one. Remember, our live-ish lives are never as long as the real ones. They're just a catch-up, so you've actually got something to accompany your Friday evening. Should you wish to paint, should you wish to catch up, should you wish to see how the model's coming along. You know, it's just a sort of teaser, really. And I'm also hoping that by this point there has been some lives from Comic-Con. So you've seen me already today, or possibly seen me already today, or you can catch up with the lives that have been done there. There we go. There's a bit of white there, so looking quite nice. So let's just zoom in a bit. Whoop. Let's change our light as well, just so we can get some light in the situation. There, so it looks quite good, right? There is some tidying to be done, without a shadow of a doubt. Let's just turn this way so you can see that better. There's some tidying to be done as we work around this model, but you can see, you know, it's looking good, right? It's looking very good so far. At the front here, it's looking very smart. The nice little details put on there. We've got this side as well, identical replica to the other side. Then you've got the top. We just painted the top. We need to redo the. I quite like that battle-worn kind of style, actually. I might have to paint a model like that completely. I should fill this in a bit, but maybe at some point I'll try to paint a model completely in that battle-worn style. I quite like that effect. It's pretty cool. But so far it's looking alright, this tank. I mean, I was a bit sort of, as I said, I was a bit sort of nervous to begin with about doing this one. But it's turned out very, very well. And it's, well, turning out very, very well, should I say. Right, there's no worry to get all the edges done perfect. This is just getting a bit more paint on the top here. I was just messing around when I did that sort of battle-worn effect across the top before. I was literally just messing around with paints. I was like, oh, I'll just sort of kick that across there and see what that looks like. Actually looks pretty good. Right, so there we go. Come on. Alright, we'll come back and finish those off a bit better later, but there you go, just a bit of extra on the top just to fill that in, just so it actually looks consistent with the rest of the painting. We'd have to do a fully battle-worn tank if we're going to go with that approach. Maybe we will at some point. There's quite a lot of silver on this so far, so I don't want to do too much more silver. We just zoom out slightly. There you go. So there's quite a lot of silver on this tank at the moment. Now I think it's more about... Oh, there are some more of those little white decals just to do there and there. There and there. So I want to start bringing out other colours and just small little pieces. So a little bit of gold there, a little bit of this here. This little candle thing is going to be gold probably. But I want to start bringing in just drips of colours elsewhere into the Mini, just to divert your eyes away from all the silver, because there is a lot of silver. So yeah, so like for example on the front, when you look at the front here, you don't really see all the silver. You actually see these two gold bits here. And there's the bronze eye here and there's one here. So actually, that's quite a cool way to do it. I think having this painted is going to look really nice as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with this in the terms of colours, but I'll think about it. There's a little crest shield in the middle of it, so there's something to paint. But yeah, it is looking really cool. It's coming along bit by bit. We'll get there. It's just a slow process, and that's kind of what model painting is. Oh, I forgot about the back, where you can actually, if I can get the light in there. Oh, hang about. There, can you see the little bolter that's on the back wall there? I just threw some silver paint in there the other day, just as a test. But yeah, it looks quite cool. There is a control panel in there as well, but whether I'm going to paint that up, I don't know. But we'll see. We shall see. Apart from that, though, I think I should probably wrap up now because I gotta go, peeps. I gotta go. But anyway, I hope that you have had a wonderful week. Fingers crossed our little chat and our little catch-up has been good. And I've managed to jump in the chat whilst either on the plane or... no, I'm coming back on the train. That's where I am. Coming back on the train from Comic-Con. So hopefully I've managed to catch up with you guys. Fingers crossed. Oh, let's change the camera. Fingers crossed, as I said, as I always say, thank you so much for joining. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with me on a Friday. Thank you for your consistent support and your love. We're at over 90 subscribers now. Come on, we're almost at the 3 figures. Yes, 3 figures. And this is episode 20 or live, no, live 18. So we're almost at 20 lives. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll have 20 lives done. Wow, in fact, yeah. Now, do I include the lives that I'm going to do at Comic-Con as an extra live? So that means we've done 19 lives by next week, because this is live 18. So with the other lives at Comic-Con, would they be in live 19 or 20? Oh, maybe we might get to 20 lives by that point. That would be cool. 20. I didn't think I'd be here after 2. So, you know, I'm still going. We're still here. So thank you for your support. I super appreciate it. As always, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe and keep positive. Keep smiling. Paint models. Do geeky stuff. Get on the PlayStation or the Xbox or whatever you've got. Play a board game. Enjoy it with your friends. And I will see you soon. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss any lives and any shorts that come out. And tell all your friends. Let's get this channel up and over 100 subscribers. It would be very, very cool to have that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you for now. Enjoy. Stay safe. We'll speak soon. Thank you very much. This is Minis and Muscles, the place where the brawn meets the brush. Tuning out. See you soon. Bye-bye.